In dit interview maak je kennis met Simon Pahl. Of eigenlijk Simon Pahl. Simon komt uit Duitsland, is voorganger van Equippers in Flensburg in het noorden. En je hoort nu iets meer van zijn achtergrond als voorganger. Hoe is hij ooit betrokken geraakt bij de gemeente? Maar ook de reis van de kerk die hij leidt. Hoe ze als een wat ouderwetse evangelische Pinkstergemeente, zou je kunnen zeggen, de reis hebben gemaakt om deel uit te maken van Equippers. Maar ook nu ze bezig zijn met het planten van nieuwe kerken in de iets wijdere omgeving in Kiel en wat andere plekken rondom Flensburg. Hoe gaat dat in zijn werk en hoe loopt dat en wat betekent dat voor hun kerk? Nou, inspirerend om naar te luisteren. Ik hoop dat je ervan geniet en God zegen. Today we are joined by Pastor Simon Pahl. Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you, Oscar.
Good to see you, man. It's been a while, but here we are. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me, meet with us, and for us to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, I love to share a bit about our story and love to get connected and spend some time with you.
Cool. Yeah, you've been over to preach for us a couple of times, but just to give people a bit of a background view, here's some notes that I jotted down. I said Simon is married to Lilli, and they have 3 daughters, and you are the lead pastors of Equippers Church in Flensburg in the northwest of Germany.
Yeah.
And some years ago, you led your church through a transition. Yeah, I think you were called Kirche in Bewegung.
Yes,
Was that true?
that's right.
Yeah. Was that like an old school type of apostolic church? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's been so the Apostolic Church in Germany, when it was started in the 50s and 60s, they decided not to name themselves Apostolic Church because there's something called New Apostolic Church in Germany, which is very different.
Like a sectarian kind of thing?
You could say that. It's some of their ideas, it's quite old already, actually. Some of the ideas are actually a bit, I wouldn't say not very biblical. So they wanted to avoid that confusion. But then they chose the name Urchristliche Mission, which basically would say like the old Christian mission, which is not a really easy name to connect to, especially if you have no idea about church. So that's why at the time when I started leading the church, I said, hey, let's change the name. We were already a church on the move. We were setting up every Sunday, sometimes at different locations. But also like what we wanted to communicate is, hey, we are in transition. We're actually going somewhere. We're not a static entity. And so that was the name at the time. Quite beloved, actually.
Ooh, Kirche in Bewegung. Yeah, so we're going to hear some more about your story in a minute. Well, we go back quite some years ago. I think it was 18, 19 years ago now, when we were students in a Bible college and you had just left.
Yes.
But you had just started dating with Lilli at the time. Is that true?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you just started dating. So did you move back to Germany back then, or did you start going to university?
Actually, at the time I was in Copenhagen and studying for a business degree.
Yeah, cool. So, but you came back to the Bible college every now and then just to meet up with Lilli, obviously. And then some years later, we actually came to be part of your wedding, which was great. We love that. And so in this talk, we're going to talk about indeed your connection to Equippers, how you became a pastor, why you became a pastor.
That's good.
Why would you ever do that? But also church culture in Germany. How is that? How does that work in these days? Because Germany and the Netherlands, in some ways, I think would be quite similar. So again, thanks for
in some ways.
In some ways. Cool. Hey, here's 10 questions for you. Number 1, going to the gym or playing football?
Right now, playing football.
Yeah. You used to be quite a gym guy, right?
Yeah, I especially in my first years when I didn't have a full salary, I would work as a trainer in several gyms actually to earn some money. And so it's actually something I enjoy, but right now I enjoy being outside with some other guys playing football.
Do you ever play football still?
Rarely.
Not enough.
Actually, I got invited by a friend from my village where our house is to play football with some older guys.
You're in that age range now.
And I was a bit nervous indoor, which is quite fast paced, because I am 44. So, but everything held together. So I was grateful for that.
Awesome. Cool. Question number 2, a bit different. Quiet time or loud praise? What's your go-to?
Wow, that's a good question. I love praise because it's been a personal journey for me of getting rid of insecurity. So if I had to make a choice, I'd say praise.
Yeah.
Loud praise, but I do need quiet time with God in solitude.
Yeah, fair enough. You need the balance, right? Right. Another tricky question. Family holiday with the girls or a man's survival weekend in the woods? What's your...
Yeah, that is a tricky question. But having to make a choice, family holiday with the girls. I just love my family. Seeing them grow up, it's my greatest joy.
Nice. What age are your girls now?
They are 8, 10, and almost 14.
Okay, nice. Yeah. You got to cherish the time now. It'll be gone soon.
Yes.
Cool. What did you like better, Bible college or your university?
Good question. Bible college, I have to say. Not just because I met my wife there, but it marked a pretty significant understanding of my own calling and started something that's led me right to where I am today. So I probably have to say Bible college.
Nice. Cool. A very different question than number 5. Bier oder Bockwurst? You got to ask a German that question, right?
Well, that's a combination just works so well together, after some beer, your body needs sustenance.
Yeah.
Having a decent bockwurst is just gonna make the evening complete.
Yeah. I think I heard somewhere that there's a difference in Germany. Like there's like a line somewhere between white and brown wurst. Is that a thing?
I mean, I'm all the way in the north.
Okay.
So and for us, in our thinking, just behind Hamburg, this is where the Alps start.
Okay.
So and that line is quite further down the middle. So we are well protected from Bavarian Weisswurst. So.
Fair enough. Cool. Number 6, singing in English or singing in German?
Personally, I probably because also I've been trained in English in my theological studies. I do really enjoy singing in English, but as a pastor in a German church, I always have to push the team to sing more German songs because it is a different way of connecting, singing in your own mother tongue. And what's been an interesting journey is like some of the translations of the Equippers songs, for example, are quite, they are not the most poetic sounding songs in German.
Yeah.
And people have been complaining sometimes about it a little bit. But I realize because praise is something where we sacrifice to God. And it's also Pastor Sam always says, praise provokes the flesh.
Yeah.
And especially for us intellectual Germans, it's really good sometimes to say, well, I'm here to praise God. And I might not like the music, I might not like the translation, but it leads me to make a decision to praise. And from a discipleship standpoint, so at the moment, I'd say German.
Yeah. Some weeks ago, there was Shout Germany. We're going to hear some more about it later, I think.
That's right.
I actually loved it in terms of even the whole singing part. My German is a bit rusty, but I got along. But I loved seeing that, like Germans just singing their heart out. It was beautiful. I really loved it. Yeah.
Praise was great. I love that too.
Yeah. And I dropped German in high school because I didn't like the language particularly.
I probably would have dropped it if I could.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool. Question number 7, which is your name, Hans or Simon? What's that? Because your Facebook profile says Hans Simon Pahl. What's all that about?
So I do really like the name Hans because there's a bit of family history behind it.
Ah,
I'm named after an uncle from my dad, and his mom has two sisters and this one brother, and they really adored their brother. And my dad kind of wanted to have one of his sons to carry his name. So I really like the name Hans, but nobody ever called me Hans apart that side from the family. So I'll just introduce myself as Simon.
yeah.
And but I make it a point to wherever I write my name to put the Hans there as well.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
it's like a German short form of John, which I also like the
Yeah,
meaning of.
yeah. Cool. So what does Lily call you?
She calls me, well, she calls me Schatz, which means it's
Oh,
like my
yeah.
precious, what we
Yeah,
say to each other in Germany.
yeah.
Or yeah, if she says my name, probably it's more serious talk. So
Fair enough. Cool. Right. Question number 8. If you could sit down with a person from the Bible for an hour, who would it be?
apart from Jesus, or
Well, you sit down with Jesus every day, so.
yeah, okay, fair point. It's it's for me a choice between probably Paul for more the New Testament
Yeah.
world and stuff, but to make a choice, I'd probably choose Moses,
Mm.
being the greatest leader in Israel's history. And there's such prophetic notion leading all the way up to Christ in
Mm.
what they do, and also his personal journey. I think that would be amazing.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, Moses. Cool. Right. Question number 9 is a bit different. Your favorite football team to win the league or Germany winning the World Cup?
Okay.
So what
Uh,
is your favorite football team? Is it?
so my favorite football team is Werder Bremen,
Ah,
which
okay.
had some great days many years ago. So I am a man of faith, but
So
them winning the league,
what will be a bigger miracle?
yeah, I'd love to win another World Cup
Yeah.
or European Cup with Germany.
Mm.
It's yeah, I just love the atmosphere of a World Cup, and
It unites
you
the
know, and
country as well, doesn't it?
it does, it
Yeah,
does.
yeah, yeah.
Can I give the question back to you? That would be interesting.
In terms of likelihood, I'd love my favorite football team to win the league, so that will be Feyenoord. Yeah, but of course, winning a World Cup, that will be a first for this country. We've been
It's
close
true,
three
yeah.
times, losing 3 finals in the past. So, but it's not very likely, I'm afraid.
I never know.
You never know. Cool. Last question is then, what is like your Bible verse or a promise or a text that you always come back to? Is there such a verse for you or such a promise or
Yeah, it sounds very simplistic, but if I probably have to choose one, it's been Psalm 23.
hmm.
Over the years, I have come back over and over again, just finding new ways of how God spoke to me through these
Hmm.
verses. And quite a difficult time, I suddenly realized, like in this passage about, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
Yeah.
you are with me. And it's actually the first time in the whole psalm where the psalmist says you before it's the Lord
Hmm.
is my shepherd, he leads me, he guides me.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
suddenly in the valley it becomes because you are with me.
Wow.
And it's that shift that leads then through, you prepare a table for me and I can stay in you. And it's a prayer I do pray regularly. It's like to be in the house of God,
Yeah.
place of peace and rest and identity as well. So
That's beautiful.
yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thanks. Cool. Well, let's make the jump to here and now. And we are transitioning into being an Equippers Ada from
That's
September on, which is an
amazing.
exciting
Awesome.
journey for us.
Yeah.
So we've had a couple of other talks with Pastor Bruce and Pastor Sam and Peter and Mark, which was great. But I'd love to hear your story as well. As you just mentioned, you transitioned with your church in Germany into being Equippers. So there's a lot of similarities, I would reckon. So things that we could learn from your journey. But first of all, how were you introduced to the Equippers family? Was that through Bible college already, or just could you take us with you on that journey?
Yeah. So I never had the thought I want to be a pastor, really. And because I didn't have models in my world of
Hmm.
pastors where I felt like, wow, I want to aspire to be like that person. Or like I grew up in a Christian family and I liked my pastors, but they were never people that inspired me. And at the Bible College, 2005, I was
Hmm.
there from 2005 and 2006. No, 2004 to 2006.
Yeah.
This is where I met Peter, and Peter Prothero. He just carried something where I felt, man, I want to spend time with this man. I want to learn from him,
Hmm.
because he carried something that I've really felt drawn to, and so that connected me. Because after I left the college, Peter left the college to go to London and work with Bruce.
Yeah.
So this is kind of where the connection came from. But interestingly, years and years ago, I figured out that I had a much earlier connection because as a young man, I was trained to be a baker. And then I went to London to work for a year as a baker in London. I wanted to improve my English, see the world a bit. And during that time, my sister, who lived in Denmark, wrote to me, said, "Hey, I've heard this wonderful pastor speak, and he's starting a church in London. You should go and check it out," which
Oh,
was Pastor Bruce
all
starting
right.
Equippers London with his wife, Helen.
Yeah.
So I looked at the map, and it was still a journey of 1.5 hours, although it was in the same city.
Wow. Okay.
But I went there a few times. That was 2001. I
Right.
hung out with some people who are now pastors and leaders in Equippers churches in New Zealand. And actually, Helen and Bruce invited me for lunch after my first visit there.
Yeah.
But I was in such a different stage of my life that I almost kind of forgot everything about it.
No
But
way.
much later, I realized, wait a second, I know these guys. And it's kind of, Pastor Helen always used this expression, God is knitting behind our backs. He's
Yeah. Yeah.
already preparing things.
Yeah.
It felt like God had been preparing that connection for me personally quite a
Mm.
while before.
That's interesting. So, and then in Bible college, you met Peter.
Mhm.
You left Bible college. He left Bible college, but somehow the connection stayed. How did that work?
Well, not at first, because I never wanted to be a pastor. Even after Bible college, my
Yeah.
idea was to go into the business world with like biblical principles and ethics and be a leader in that sphere.
Yeah.
But realizing after a year, this is not at all where I want to be. And so I moved to Flensburg, where Lilli, my then girlfriend at the time, now wife, was. And my
Mm.
plan was just to stay there for maybe 3 months, 6 months, just to find direction and then figure out what to do next. And
Mm.
during those months, the pastor, he had to take a break, a prolonged break. And I felt like, oh man, I can't leave this church now. It's already started connecting with the young people, especially. So I
Ah.
decided I'm going to stay for a year, just like an unpaid internship, basically. I'm going to work. I'm going to figure this thing out with
Yeah.
Lilli, and in that year I really discovered this is what I want to do. I love
Mm.
seeing the impact that church has on the lives of people. I enjoy the diversity of it, like creativity and speaking in front of people and mentoring, discipling people. So this is where I actually took the decision, hey, I want to do this. I want to be a pastor.
Mm.
And at the time, Peter Prothero was the supervisor of the Apostolic Church in Germany.
Ah. Okay.
So there was a natural connection.
Yeah.
And he also said, hey, um, Jürgen Eisen at the time started like a leaders network thing where he would invite equippers people like Bruce and Sam to come and speak on like leaders conferences, quite smaller spaces. And they invited me to come there. And that's really, I realized the way they do leadership with a strong relational connection, very missional at the same time, boldly charismatic, but very reasonable. I just felt right at home, and also just the culture of championing each other, connecting intentionally. I felt okay. If I'm gonna do this, being a pastor leading a church, I'd love to be part of this group of people. This is how it all started.
Cool. So the connection was through the apostolic network at that time in
at
Germany.
That time, yes.
Yeah, and you said you would like an intern at the time. So you were volunteering and working with youth and within the church.
Yeah, and then after a year, I started the way they would train you as a pastor would, so you do 2 years full-time Bible college, which I had done, and then you do 2 years of being part of a church, learning the trades, and doing some online courses at the same time.
Okay.
So this is what I then did. It took 3 years because of different things, but then I was ordained in 2013 as a pastor, but I wasn't leading the church at the time.
So there was another lead pastor at the time.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. And it was still called Kirchenbewegung back then, or did it have like the urchristliche Mission thing?
It had several names, and I think I probably started even before I left the church, bringing that name in Kirche in Bewegung.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of brought everything together and also showed like, hey, this is a new thing that is happening. It's not the old, but it's something new happening.
Yeah. Wow. So could you describe what the church was like at that time then? Could you give words to that?
Yeah, maybe a quick overview. So the church was started by some Danes and English people, Welsh people actually.
Okay.
In the 1970s, I think, in Flensburg. And it was basically a small group for the first 10 years. And then after 10 years, they were officially launched as a church and had their first ordained pastor leading them. Okay. So this year we celebrated our 50th anniversary as a church.
Yeah.
And there are actually people from that first group that started the church, just went here to pray and evangelize, are still part of the church. So my church is age-wise quite broad. My oldest member is 103 years old.
No way.
He doesn't come to church on Sunday anymore.
Sure.
But I try to visit him at least a few times a year.
Yeah.
And he does sometimes recognize me, so this is a plus.
That's
but of course, we have lots of young families, young people, teenagers, young adults. We have a university in town. So it's actually quite wonderful. It's quite a generational church.
Yeah.
Which in a way probably has been the strength in the last few years, because the generations of the people who started it all, they've been praying all their life for something like this happening.
Yeah.
The next generation of parents saw their children being on fire for Jesus and saying, hey, I might not enjoy the music that much, but I love to see what's happening.
Yeah.
And the young people, I think, received from the older generation a real sense of security and freedom to go for it. So so I'm a big fan of generational churches. It has such a strength when you learn to bring that together in unity.
That's beautiful.
This is what we are seeing here in Flensburg.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you just mentioned you were ordained as a pastor, but there was another senior pastor So how did that transition go? Because somewhere in the journey, he stepped down, you took over.
Yes,
When was that?
that was 2016. So I think 2 days ago, I had my 9-year anniversary
Yeah.
of leading the church here in Flensburg. So I have my 10 years next year.
Coming up, yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I, how do I put that? So after a while, I realized the type of leader I am. At one point, I I wanted to have a bit more freedom in shaping the vision. So we kind of went into a process. How could that look like? Would that mean me and Lilli going to another place, starting something new, serving somewhere else? But after quite some time, um, also my leading pastor at the time said, "Hey Simon, I think it's time for you to lead this church," and which was an intense process, to be honest, but quite beautiful in the end, because like he released me really to lead that church and also to bring some changes. I think that gave a lot of security to the church.
Wow, that's
Seeing,
beautiful.
hey, there's a blessing behind this. It's not politics. It's not power games. It's actually about saying, hey, what's best for this church and for the mission.
Recognizing seasons.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Wow. So when did you decide, and why did you decide to say, well, let's go from Kirchenbeweging to equippers? What was that process all about?
So right from the start, as I told, I realized I feel like equippers is my tribe.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
I feel so at home with these strange people from New Zealand and UK and everywhere. Love the international vibe it does have, the big vision,
Yeah.
the relational focus. So I was very honest from the start. Also, when we were talking with the leadership about the church, I said, "Hey, Equippers is my home, and and naturally, I'm going to lead an Equippers church. Might not have the name, but it's just the culture, the focus, the vision is gonna be very close to what Equippers does."
Yeah. So
And
would you already like hang out at conferences and stuff with
yes,
equippers people? Yeah. Yeah.
we would go to Acts conference each year with a whole bunch of leaders. Even before I was leading the church,
Yeah.
strongly connected to what was Jubilee at the time, which then became Equippers. So there was a very natural connection.
Yeah.
And also, just church history wise, Equippers comes out of the apostolic movement. So even in that sense, because us being an apostolic church, we were strongly connected to that movement.
Yeah. Yeah. So straight from the start, you said, I'm going to lead a church that looks and feels like that, but then changing a name and making like that connection official is quite another leap, I would say.
Yes, it's a bit of a longer story, but I realized at one point we need clarity.
Okay.
What is this? What are we doing? We had already taken on the values of Equippers. Some years prior, we had frequent guest speakers from the wider Equippers network coming in, even being connected on a team level.
Yeah.
Like they would help us with the worship team and graphics, for example, and we would, work together in that area. And at the time, the Apostolic Church Germany, there was a lot of, to put it bluntly, political games going on. And I felt this is not really a place for us to, a safe place for us to be. So we need a clear connection. So after a longer conversation with Pastor Bruce and Pastor Peter, I went to New Zealand actually in 2018 because they said, hey, before you want to be Equippers, you need to see the origins. And being there, seeing also how different the expressions of equippers are. It's not like a corporate identity. It's very much locally focused at the same time. Although it has an English name, like in every country, it's actually pastors from that country leading the churches, and it's about culture, it's about connection. We just felt, hey, it's time to change the name as well. And it's not like, equippers is not an easy name to have in Germany. I'd probably say your English literacy in Netherlands is far higher than it is in Germany. But for us, it was about identity and clarity. And also it coincided with us actually really shifting our expression. We moved from a place where we would meet before into the cinema, into the main cinema here in the town. And from literally one day to another, the look and feel of the church changed, in a good way, in a positive way. And it was so helpful also to carry a different name then, to say, hey, this is then, this is now. We kept the Kirche in Bewegung in the first years as like a subtitle thing. To just show contingency, and very organically over the last few years. So we made that shift in 2019. So very organically that kind of went away, and we are equippers now. And it's been quite a nice journey.
So maybe 1 or 2 steps back, you mentioned there was quite some political games within the apostolic church movement. You could have decided to step out and be your own independent church, right?
Yes.
There was an option, which is, I think in Holland, that would be the most picked one, just to be independent as a church, which we have been up until now in some ways, I guess. So why not choose that option,
Like I said, we were already well connected, also on a personal level, and just the type of leader I am. I'm quite visionary. I like to go for it, and I know I need to be strongly connected to leaders and fathers, probably, I would say. Peter and Bruce really have been people who they had just such a strong voice in my personal life, and been there at quite some important moments. And I always knew I need to seek that strong connection. And I really believe in order to lead strong, you need to learn to follow strong at the same time.
That's beautiful.
And I really found that. But at the same time, I quite like my freedom. So just from who I am and my personality, just being independent and kind of being a little bit connected here and there is the most attractive option to me. But because I am aware of that, I also just don't want to lead a church for a season. I want to lead something that is sustainable afterwards. I knew we need to be well connected, intentionally connected on a personal level, but also on a committed church level. I would probably call it that.
Wow. So how was that process for multiple levels, I'd say? So for you and your team, like the leaders team, but also for the rest of the church, how was that process stepping over to Equippers?
I think because we gave it quite a few years, adopting the values, getting to know the leaders on a personal level, even adopting the style of worship and praise already, and having that kind of in our culture made the shift quite easy. I'd probably say it wasn't I felt at one point, I think, hey, we are ready for this, and we don't need to push it. But we also were really intentional about building unity around it. So building unity is probably one of the main core leadership principles of Equippers. Like it says in Psalm 133, the oil flows from the beard of Aaron down to the seams of his robe.
Yeah.
Pastor Sam always says unity flows from top to bottom. So
Yeah.
when we had unity in the leadership about this, we just really intentionally and carefully went through the different how layers probably of the church, people leading positionally, but also people who were just important figures in the community.
Yeah.
And when we knew we have a lot of unity here and there's joy around it, that was the point when we announced it to the church. And the way we did it was on a Sunday. I asked all the leaders to come up on stage.
Yeah.
And I think we're probably 50, 60 people on stage. And said, hey, this is what's on our heart. This is why we want to do it. And this is when we're going to do it. And I think that just gave people a lot of security in seeing, hey, this is not a decision by just the leader, who wants to do this, but it comes out of the community.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And you said something about, so you also moved to a different venue, but there was an old and a new. Could you give words to that? So what became new for you guys?
One thing that attracted me to Equippers from the beginning was the missional nature of it.
Okay.
But in the context of church that I knew, like more a Pentecostal expression of church and faith, which has also been really dear to me. So and Equippers was the first time I've kind of seen that function well, having a missional expression. What I mean by that is, hey, our focus is to reach people with the good news, and we are willing to sacrifice some holy cows that we love dearly for that reason.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not being like seeker friendly, which was like a word in the 90s and early 2000s, where you say, hey, let's move everything away that could offend people, or
Yeah.
so not at all. So we still believe in the power of the Holy Spirit, and but being intentional about the spaces we are creating. What does Sunday look like? What do we do on a Sunday? And so that was probably the biggest shift from more a smaller, traditional, very, very charismatic church, passionate. This church has always been passionate, so that kind of connected well with the Equippers culture.
Yeah.
But of course, there were some changes, like the way we would allow the prophetic on a Sunday, the way we would do worship. Even like, I remember coming to the church, they would play like 7, 8, 9, 10 songs on a Sunday morning, like an hour of worship. Anybody new in the church would be totally exhausted by then, and then followed by like an hour preaching, and just changes like that were already initiated before we changed the name. So it was quite a natural transition there.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, and what about, like, let's say for an average churchgoer, what would they notice that they were part of a bigger network? Do they notice anything about it? Is it a big thing in your church?
That's probably one of the biggest strengths, I would say, of being connected to Equippers, because you realize we are part of a bigger vision.
Okay.
This is not just our local church and reaching, but we are connected with churches all over Europe, all over the world, basically. And it brings such a it just creates space, I think, also for the people in their understanding of what I am part of.
Yeah.
And this was started to be visible before, but of course now that you are Equippers, and it's just then it does something to your own understanding, being like someone who's connected, or it's like our people coming in. We're part of the same movement. We're part of the same vision, the same mission in a way. And that's been received really well. And my greatest joy this year at Shout Germany was seeing that our church, and it's like an 8-hour journey getting from Flensburg to Mainz, was represented in all generations. And especially our I'd say older generation, we call them ladies and gentlemen. Um, there were a lot of them there, and they loved it, the feedback we've gotten. And I thought, wow, we're doing this together. This is not just the younger generation doing this, but it's actually on a broad level, and that's just carries such a strength doing that together. Yeah,
It's beautiful. So could you explain Shout Germany? What is it and why is it?
I think one part that people find interesting about equippers is how much we travel to
Ah,
visit each other on a pastoral leadership level. Oops.
yeah.
But also so we make the effort to invest money and time and energy into meeting for a couple of days.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you probably would look at it logically and say, well, that's a bit much, or like traveling to London like we did the years before we had Shout Germany with your family just for a couple of days. Is it really worth it? But I think for me, there's something biblical behind it. Like the nation of Israel, they were challenged to go to Jerusalem
Yeah,
actually a couple of times
yeah.
of the year, and especially that the Feast of Tabernacles makes no sense. You travel to Jerusalem, you build your little hut there, and but it releases something. I feel there's just a strength in intentionally connecting, also physically going somewhere. You
Yeah.
come back with renewed vision, with a deeper connection. So this is, I think, if you want to really understand equippers, you need to be at those spaces as well, and you receive a
Yeah.
bigger vision, which
Yeah.
then translates back into what you do locally. And it's quite powerful to see as a leader that the same impact it had on me, to see the same impact on your church, going there and coming back with more vision,
Yeah.
having an encounter with God, meeting different people.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Shout Germany, this year, was it the first year that it was happening? So it's a church-wide conference, not just for equippers, I'd say. Is it?
Yeah, it's an equippers conference, but there are a lot of churches and leaders here in Germany we journey with together,
Yeah.
who are quite close, where we are connected in some ways, and so lots of different churches were represented at that
Yeah.
conference.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, again, I loved it. I think it was beautiful. So how many equippers churches are there now in Germany? Do you know?
So officially there are 4 equippers churches. One in Mainz, one in Koblenz, one in Berlin, one in Flensburg, of course.
Yeah.
And Mainz and our church, we also have different locations where we've started churches in our region.
Okay.
So it's 4 churches with probably about 8 locations in total right now.
Okay. Okay. So you said Mainz is they are planting some new locations, some new churches, and you are doing the same. Could you
Yes.
talk us through that a bit? Because I think that's a beautiful part of the Equippers network, and the heart of it is church planting, like expansion, going out and taking ground. How did that work for you?
So I've received some words over the years where people said something like, "Hey, there's an apostolic grace on your life," and which feels great to receive. But I felt, because for me, the main indicator of the apostolic in the New Testament is actually a momentum to start and plant new churches and initiatives. So I said, God, if this is from you, if this is really on my life, I'm praying for this to happen. I don't know how, and I've never done it before. I've just transitioned in church, but I've never started a church. And over a couple of years, God put a city in our hearts. It's the city of Kiel, which is in our northern region here. One of the main cities, probably, harbor on the Baltic coast as well. And we've started 2.5 years ago a church there, which was basically just having a small team and going there. We started Wednesday nights. We would divide the team. One half would set up the room, the other half, we would go out 2 by 2 just to invite people, to pray for people, and then meet, have a small service. And it started really small, but we've been learning a lot. And now it is so, on an average Sunday, we are between 50 and 60 people.
Wow.
And we had like a celebration 2 weeks ago, and we were like 80 people together.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I thought, this feels like a church.
Yeah,
How did
yeah,
that
yeah.
happen? It's
Yeah.
amazing. So we
Wow.
have this, and we have another location on the west coast of our region, which is more like 30, 40 people, but also we found people who are willing to lead those locations. And it's an interesting journey to learn how do you lead actually different churches in different settings, more urban or more rural. It's quite amazing and a lot of
Wow.
work.
So you started off with a team from your church driving back and forth every week to basically provide like a church service, and somehow you gathered some people locally that
Yes.
became part of team, became part of church. So would you say, is that or like officially launched as a church in its own right, or is it still like a daughter church from Flensburg?
At the moment, we call it a location because
Okay.
that's what it is. So we do Sunday evening services there. So we take a team from Flensburg, go there, but we already have a lot of team locally as well. We have some small groups there. So there's church life happening, but it still needs a bit of a support from the mothership. But that's slowly shifting, and I can see us officially launching that as a church, maybe late this year, early next year.
Yeah. Wow. So you already would have some people that could lead that, or would you be the one stepping in, or how does that work?
This is in process right now, but we have a couple here from Flensburg that said, hey, we have Kiel on our hearts, and we're in the process of shifting that whole thing. And it means also for me learning how do I lead, because I'm still the senior leader basically. And how do I lead different locations, which is a new experience.
I can imagine. Yeah. Wow. So that's both in Kiel and in Nibel.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. That's exciting. How is that for the rest of the church? Is that something that they would look at and say, hey, this is costing us people and energy and time, or are they excited about it? How did that go?
It definitely costs energy and time, but everyone involved in that feels like God is doing something here, and they love being part of that.
That's beautiful.
And the good thing is, this church, although it's been pretty small over the years, there was always a desire to plant churches, and a dream and prophetic words. So it's almost in the DNA of this church. It just needed someone to be bold enough and stupid enough to get it started, which I've been both.
That's beautiful. Wow. So when you say it's always been small, what should we think about in terms of numbers? The Flensburg church now? How?
Well, it's always been kind of one of the weakest of the apostolic churches over the years. And there have been several moments where the national leadership, even together with like the Danish church, who's been also taking care of this, as we are right at the border of Denmark, we're almost about to close it. Said, hey, this is just too much drama, too much difficulties, and too small. When I joined the church, the leader at the time had already changed a lot of things and shifted it towards more stability. And it had probably grown at the time. You could probably say on a Sunday we were like 70 people. So that was the size. And maybe 120 people overall would have called it their home.
Yeah.
And maybe as a comparison, just what God has done over the last few years. Now on a Sunday, we are between 300 and 350 people, and probably around 600 people would call this their
Yeah.
home.
Wow.
So it's been quite an amazing journey,
Yeah.
just like yours.
Yeah. So is Flensburg, is that like here in Holland we have a Bible Belt and we're in it? How is it for you in Germany? Is that your environment as well, or is it like a secular city?
It's totally the opposite, especially
Yeah.
the north of German has traditionally always been quite difficult to reach for churches. My region has never seen a significant revival type of thing happening. Very
Yet.
kind of local spots,
Yeah.
yet, exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, we took a decision quite a few years ago to say, no, if God has called us here, this is the best place for us
Yeah.
to build church and reach people.
Yeah.
And that kind of shifted something in our hearts and our minds.
Yeah. You change your
And
language.
it changes the language and the expectations you have, the hope you carry for
Yeah.
what God is about to do. And I always say hope is the first step toward faith.
Yeah.
And faith moves mountains.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Awesome. Wow. Hey, overall, so we're nearly closing this up, but what is a message that you have for the church, not only in Flensburg, but like wherever you go? This is a message that you carry in your spirit for this time and place.
One thing I really, really love about Equippers is the way Pastor Bruce, Pastor Peter, how they have handled transitions, that they are willing to sacrifice their own comfort
Yeah.
for a new generation to be able to step into what God has for them. One of my favorite stories in the Bible is how King David hands over the reins to King Solomon. He would love nothing more than to build the temple.
Yeah.
For his God that he loves so much, but God says no.
Not you, not
You've
you.
spilled too much blood. You're not gonna. And then he doesn't react with bitterness, with frustrations, but he actually builds a platform for the next generation. He prepares the resources. He gathers the influential people of Israel. He creates unity basically, and then releases his son Solomon to take leadership.
That's powerful. Yeah.
And I love that quote. I think it's by Gustav Mahler, that tradition is not the worship of ashes, but a rediscovery of fire. And seeing what Bruce, what Peter have done, I'm already praying, God, let me be aware of that moment when it's my time to release a new generation. Because God is a God of generations, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. It's one generation to the other. And I think if we are able to establish church, a culture in church that is saying, hey, my biggest joy is to see my next generation, whatever that means for you, is being able to step into the call of God. My ceiling is going to be their platform. I think that will create a model that really reaches a world that is so hungry for authenticity and for truth.
That's beautiful. I remember I can remember, was it a year or two ago, you came to preach for us and you preached on Nehemiah building the wall.
Yes.
Was it with his daughters, right?
Yeah.
And that really spoke to you as well, because I believe Nehemiah had 3 daughters.
Not Nehemiah, but one of the leaders of Jerusalem, of the district of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And it just is that simple phrase. I think it's Nehemiah 3 or 4. He and his daughters built their part of the wall.
That's beautiful.
And just that spoke to me personally. I've got 3 daughters.
Yeah.
And to know, hey, and it's also probably what me and my wife is also a pastor in our church, so we really do this together.
Yeah.
And we've always said, hey, Joshua says, me and my house will serve the Lord. And so we always said, we don't want to serve the Lord and our house has to pay the price, our children, so that's why we are also building a church for them as well. And seeing, maybe real quick story. When we changed a lot about the style and the way we did things, of course, for some people, that was also had to do with grief, because they loved the way their church was, and it's been part of their journey, their identity, their music. And so for someone, it was challenging in a way. And I remember especially one older gentleman in our church, great, faithful couple, wonderful people, but he was really challenged, especially by the music. And he would be very vocal about it. And so I think what tipped him over the edge when I said, "Hey, why don't you put something in your ears?" And he said, "On a Sunday, you can't be serious." But then, so he was very angry, and I thought they're probably going to leave the church, but they stayed. And then maybe a year after our transition, we had a Sunday morning where I remember really clearly, but 18 young men responded to an altar call, and most of them not from our church.
Wow.
And we ended up ending the service with a song of praise, and like our young people are wild in the front. And we finished this song, and I turn around, and there's this older grumpy gentleman, and he's crying, and he says, "Simon, you know what? I still hate the music. I don't understand why the light has to do all this, and why does it have to be dark." He said, "I still don't like that, but when I see what is happening here, I just want to say this has been what I've been praying for my whole life."
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
And for him personally, that shifted something in him, and he's now someone who's well connected with a younger generation. Because he just allowed his heart to see what God is actually doing. And so for me, that's a role model. Because in some years, I'm probably him. Not understanding what the young generation is doing there, thinking the way we did it is the real stuff. But then to be willing to lay my life down for a next generation to pick up their call.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Thank you, man. Thank you. Hey, I'd love to ask you to close this off with a prayer for us in our time now. I said as we are entering a season of transition and change and navigating how all this will work out for us. Could you pray for us?
Yes. Lord, what a joy seeing the journey of this church, seeing the journey of Oscar and Heidi, the crazy willingness to start something new, and to see what you've made with this willingness to follow you, God. And seeing so many deep, beautiful people coming together in Ede and having an impact in that city, and they are going to have an impact beyond that city in the Netherlands, Lord. And I just pray for this season there and right now, Holy Spirit, that you will come as the Spirit of truth, of wisdom, but also the comforter, at the same time bring vision. I pray for the people to have dreams in their hearts about what you want to do. Lord, I thank you. It's not about a name, but it is about your name, Jesus. And I just pray for this transition, that you will guide them through it, and that it will release something new in this church that honors your name and helps people to just find hope, find vision, and find a home and a family in this place. In Jesus' name, amen.
Yes. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much again for taking the time to meet with us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing you soon.